We are finally back in the wonderful slime-filled world of Slime Rancher, this time to 100% the sequel to the first game, which I have 100%ed before, by the way. You should totally go watch that one after this one. To 100% Slime Rancher 2, I must ranch dozens of slimes, endure plenty of mishaps, unlock 27 total achievements, find hundreds of Slimepedia entries, collect countless in-game collectibles, and follow a new story that takes us beyond the far range to Rainbow Island. I vow to leave no slime unturned, folks, so it's safe to say that this adventure is going to be a doozy. And while you're at it, you should leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that very much. But without further ado, my friends, let's get right into it. I wonder what today's help wanted quest is. Talk about the Poxeel Creator Merch Collab from Lewis. Poxeel will be happy, and more merch for audience. Sounds good to me. That's right, my friends, I have teamed up with Creator Merch to create my very own permanent merch store. And in there right now is a brand new set of merch designed by me. Creating videos isn't my only artistic calling. The plan is to cycle new designs and posters and merch about every 2 months. So keep an eye on my videos and the store to keep up to date with what's new. Your support means the absolute world to me. This has been a dream of mine ever since I started YouTube, to have a permanent merchandise store with an awesome company like Creator Merch. I'm very grateful that I get to do this, so get in quick before it disappears. Following the events of the first game, Beatrix LeBou is sent on a mysterious quest across the Slime Sea to Rainbow Island. We were told by nothing other than a letter to get on that boat to explore these uncharted lands. So of course I said yes, because let's be real, I'm not one to argue with a piece of paper. So I set off on course to Rainbow Island. An old conservatory was to be our base of operations. Fortunately, it was equipped with everything a slime ranching expert like me would need. And at last we were let loose in the world of Slime Rancher 2. I was so excited that I celebrated alongside a pink slime. It was time to hone in on the slime ranching basics. I shot a few pink slimes into this very conveniently placed corral. I looked through the upgrades and reminded myself that just like in our world, money makes the world go round. However, I sniffed around the conservatory instead to get a lay of the land. I found a couple of offline kiosks, some carrots by my house, and down these stairs a basement of sorts that housed the refinery and the fabricator. Don't worry, I'll explain how they work later on, because it was time for profits. Those carrots I'd picked up, I shot into the corral with the pink slimes, and when they munch down on the carrots, they produce plorts. I took these plorts to the plort market, shot them into the receiver, and congratulations, we remembered how to successfully ranch slimes. And clearly someone was excited about the profits. With the basics down and my mind refreshed, it was time to head out into the first area of Rainbow Island, the Rainbow Fields. Filled with luscious green grass and rolling hills, Rainbow Fields is where I came across a few starter slimes and items, like pogo fruit and cotton slimes. Something I'd like to point out now rather than later is the Slimepedia entries. You'll notice any time that I add something new to the Slimepedia, whether that be a new resource, slime, weather event, gadget, slime toy, location, food, or utility, I get a little pop-up on the corner of my screen. I'll come to loathe trying to complete this stupid Slimepedia, but hey, that's future Poxeel's problem. For now, I headed back home with my backpack full of slimes and food. Into the pink slime corral, I shot even more pink slimes. I smacked them across the face with a shower of carrots, and they dropped me a bunch of plorts. I sold off the plorts to the plort market and use the money to get the high walls upgrade. This will make it a bit harder for the slimes to jump up and over to their escape. I shot the cotton slimes into the same corral, sprayed a line of pogo fruit at them all, and I sat back and I watched the chaos unfold. When a slime feeds on the plort of a different slime type, it will turn into a large combination of both of those slimes, also known as a Largo. They're too big to fit into my backpack, so once a Largo is made, it makes the horde harder to control, but it's a great ranching tool to maximize profits, which I am all about. Once I had cleaned it up a bit, I now had my first Largo-filled corral in the conservatory. Watching them all fly out the top of the corral gave me the inspiration to go get more money for more upgrades. So as the sun was setting on our first day, I took off into the rainbow fields to do some plort gathering. That was when I ran into my first research drone. It read, well, here we are again. I'm sending the drones out to all of their original scouting locations. Once I confirm the conditions are the same, I'll get to work. This place. I still remember being in awe of these rainbow fields. It felt like being in a beautiful dream. And I guess in a way it was, because it ended much too soon. These drones reminded me of the notes that were left for us by Hobson in the first Slime Rancher game, giving us a sneak peek into the lore of the world. But it begs so many questions. Who's sending these drones out? What ended too soon? Why does this person remember the fields? Have they been here before? What's a gg.log? Why do I still wet the bed? Questions that I'm sure will be answered all in good time. In the meantime, I returned to the conservatory to sell off some plorts. Then I went back to exploring. In the blanket of night, phosphor slimes were now lighting up the fields. I came across a few natural resources, however I was lacking the upgrade to collect them, so I'd have to come back for them later. I also popped up the map for the first time. Clearly I had a lot of work to do to reveal more of the map. Back in the conservatory again, I turned a plot of land into a garden. In these gardens you can grow anything that you find out on Rainbow Island, and my first garden was going to be dedicated to growing carrots. I then got enough cash to warrant a second garden. This one I'm going to use to grow pogo fruit. With no money to my name, I had no excuse to hang around the conservatory, so back out into the night I went again. This time I started collecting phosphor slimes, and nearby I found my first map node, which revealed a part of the rainbow fields on my map. When I returned home later on, the clock had ticked past midnight and we were officially on to day 2. I sold off some cotton and phosphor plorts, which got me enough money to purchase a second corral. But that's about as far as I got, as I was just short of buying any upgrades. So I dumped my cotton slimes and some pink slimes into it for now, and I went back to the rainbow fields to rinse and repeat my ambiguous money-making method. Along the way, I came across a new food type. Q-berries, and my first of many treasure pods. This particular treasure pod gave me my first gadget blueprint for the hydro turret. I had a call waiting for me when I got back to the conservatory shortly after. It was a call from none other than our friend Victor Humphreys. You'll recognize this familiar face from the first game. He was reaching out to me with some alarming news. He told me he'd received a message from some sort of artificial intelligence program. He was in the process of analyzing and deciphering the code it was written in. He said the message was sent from Rainbow Island. Hey, wait a minute, that's where we are. Before he signed off, he blessed me with a very useful gadget blueprint, the yellow return home portal. After this, I did a bit of plort farming to get some money back in my wallet. I used it to purchase the high walls upgrade on my corral, and what I assume was to be another garden. I say that because I purchased a corral instead by accident, and then I was shocked to see that it cost 200 gold to demolish it, which I didn't have. So it was to stay up for now, as a reminder of my itchy trigger finger. With the sun back up in the sky for another day, I spent the morning turning my pink and cotton slimes into Largos, selling plorts, setting up a new garden with Q-berries, and demolishing the mistaken corral. By this point, I was hungry and ready to do some more exploring through the rainbow fields. I headed into the second half of the fields for the first time, and this is where I came across a refinery link. When I'm able to collect resources, I'll be able to offload them to the refinery link to send them back to the refinery under the conservatory without having to run all the way home, which I have to say is very convenient. I also spied the second map node right after this. On my way to activating it, I got distracted by another research drone. This one read, I was so over my head when I first started here. I remember hauling jellystone back to the conservatory by hand because I was so excited. Breathless and sweating, I was going about everything all wrong. But I was happy. There's a little time now, so I'll need these refinery links if I'm gonna be efficient. This time, I'm gonna do it right. Whoever this person is seems to have lived another lifetime here, perhaps? Either way, they are clearly big fans of the refinery link, so I'm sure I will be as well. I made my way around the back of the island to find my way to the map node. node. Activating it revealed the second half of the rainbow fields on my map. Immediately afterwards, I stood face to face with a lucky slime. I had encountered these guys in the first slime rancher. I knew from experience that I had to feed it before it ran away, but with nothing in my backpack, the best I could do was just stare at its cute little face and then get annoyed when it disappeared. I have some unspoken trauma, apparently. I encountered tar slimes for the first time after this. Tar slimes are the result of a largo feeding on a plort type that is different to its combination of slimes. Tar slimes can be very dangerous in numbers and feast on other slimes, so it's best to throw these little suckers into the slime sea. My next discovery was a massive stone pillar that looked out to what looks like a new area of Rainbow Island. The one after that was my first Gordo slime. Gordo slimes are massive versions of regular slimes that you need to feed and feed and feed until they burst. Funnily enough, I stumbled upon the cotton Gordo about 30 seconds later, and then 30 seconds after that, I found the phosphor Gordo in a nearby cave. I also found the boat that we journeyed in over here from the far range. Not too important to my adventure here on Rainbow Island, but hey, I thought you'd like to know. Evening had fallen upon the conservatory when I returned later on. I discovered the ranch extensions that were a little too expensive to finish right now, and I figured out how to enter gadget mode, which I'm glad to see seems to have gotten an overhaul from the first game. Then I decided to get some shut-eye for a few hours in my cozy little house. When I came to on day 3, I fed my angry slimes for some plorts. However, it would take more money than I got to get any garden upgrades. So I saved what I had acquired and ventured back out into the rainbow fields armed with a backpack full of food. I used it all to feed the pink Gordo first. But just like me during a Christmas Day feast, the pink Gordo ate and ate and ate and refused to burst. It was shaking very violently though, which is more like me before I've eaten my Christmas Day feast. So I went in search of more food. Let me just get up on here. Oop, I missed the ledge. And oh my god, I've just gone feet first into the slime sea and I've passed out. Well, that's embarrassing. I lost a few hours of my day due to my slip and fall, and I had to tend to my hungry slimes so they wouldn't get too mad. At least it started raining, so that really went along with my mood right about now. Shortly after the second kiosk was kicked into gear, this one lets me browse Pronto Mart. Brought to you by yours truly, Polestar Provisions. I can purchase gadget and utility blueprints, and every day at 12 PM, Cuckoo Corner will have daily specials for me to peruse. It's a capitalistic dream come true. Once I'd finished looking through Pronto Mart, I got my Carrot Patch the Nutrient Soil upgrade. I added the Roostru entry to my Slimepedia, and I ventured back out into the rain with the idea of bursting Gordos on my mind. The pink Gordo didn't take much more food to fill him to the brim. It burst in a flurry of fireworks and pink slimes. In its wake was a geyser. I rode the geyser to reach a higher spot on the rock where I found a switch to activate. In doing so, I saw the big stone pillar I found earlier collapse into the earth. A portal formed in its place. A portal to where, exactly? Well, that question would be answered all in due time, my friends. I still have things to take care of here in the Rainbow Fields. With the thought of popping Gordos fresh on my mind, I found myself back in front of the cotton Gordo. 20 carrots wasn't quite enough, and with a diet of veggies, it seems I couldn't fill it with my pogo fruit either. On the other hand, the phosphor Gordo did enjoy a bit of fruit, so at least this big guy was grateful for my pogo fruit. I took some time to gather more of it, and I got the big lad to burst a short while later. Behind the phosphor Gordo was another treasure node. This one got me the coastal rock decoration blueprint. I also came across my first plort door. If anything from the first game has taught me, it's that these types of doors require a certain type of plort based on the statue. It didn't take me long to get my hands on a tabby plort. Chucking it into the statue opened the door just like I thought it would. Behind it was treasure node number 3. This one gave me the tank liner upgrade component. Once I had returned home to the conservatory in the early hours of the morning, I got to sell off some plorts I'd brought back with me. Then I turned another plot of land into a corral, and I got the soulless shield upgrade for it. I filled it with phosphor slimes and fed them pogo fruit to get some plorts. However, watching them fly out of the corral gave me some very strong evidence that I didn't have enough upgrades to keep them contained. So I fed my other slimes, who were doing a lot better at staying in their corrals. Their plorts gave me the money needed to get the high walls and air net upgrades. Let's try this again, shall we? Ah, that's better, isn't it? I should note another Slimepedia entry, the hen. I added this one while I was feeding the other corral of pink cotton largos. I found myself back out in the rainbow fields this morning. I was hoovering up any carrots and plorts that I could find. I came across another treasure pod too. Not to mention this funny looking guy, a Yoki slime. As good as a fried egg sounds about right now, I think that would be considered torture. I also sucked up a few tabby slimes into my backpack. I plan to pair them with the phosphor slimes back at home. Eventually, I made my way to the cotton gordo and fed it carrots until it couldn't eat another. I unlocked my first achievement when it popped, naturally for popping 3 gordos. That granted me access to pass through another cave. This one leading down to a similar switch that I found yesterday. Activating it sent a second stone pillar down into the earth, and another portal took its place. Look, I'm sorry to keep you on edge for a bit longer, folks, but I didn't want to explore any further just yet. Instead, I returned home with another backpack full of plorts. I sold them off when I got back, and I chucked in the tabby slimes with the phosphor slimes. Watching them turn into largos was a little bit scary. It's like creating a Frankenstein. You have no idea what crazy combo of characteristics you've just slapped together, but they seemed okay for now. An upgrade I got for my corrals were plort collectors. That way I don't have to squish my face between them to suck up the plorts. This handy little device will do it for me. Happy with the fact that I'm pretty sure that nothing could go wrong, I headed back out into the rainbow fields for a bit. I came across another treasure node. This one gave me the heart cell upgrade component, and I picked up some more fruit and hens to feed to my tabby and phosphor slimes. By this point, my corral was getting pretty crowded, but the money I was making from their plorts was significantly better than the pink and cotton ones. So it was a profitable risk I was willing to take. After more slime ranching, I had enough money to purchase the sprinkler upgrade for my pogo fruit tree. That brought me down to 8 new bucks. So tell me why I thought it would be a good idea to browse Pronto Mart. I was just reminded that I had no money. So I ventured back out again that night to collect more plorts and fix that very problem. I should also note I got the power cell upgrade component from another treasure node too. I got back home just before the end of the day, sold off the plorts, bought a new corral, and decided to skip ahead with a bit of shut-eye. The great thing about sleeping for 6 hours is it hurries along the garden crops and makes the slimes hungry. The perfect combination for making profits. I used this morning's earnings to upgrade the corral I bought last night. That meant I was able to fill it with another lot of tabby and phosphor slimes, plus a sprinkler upgrade for the Q-berry tree. Another incoming call was waiting for me once that was all taken care of. I was greeted by another familiar face, Moochie Miles. She told me to stay safe and that she'd been doing her own research of the island while I was exploring. To top it all off, she gave me the blueprint for my very own refinery link. Isn't that nice of her? The afternoon had rolled around by now, and I found myself frolicking through the rain collecting pogo fruit and hens. You could say I got lucky today, because I launched a hen in my backpack at a lucky slime that I happened upon. I got a little bit of money and the Slimepedia entry for doing so, but more importantly, I felt more in control of my lucky slime trauma from the first game. I added a new food type, water lettuce, to my vocabulary as well, plus I found a path I hadn't taken yet that was littered with feral slimes. They're not very nice, it's kind of in the name. It's best to take similar actions to tar slimes in my opinion. On the way home, the rain turned into a hair-raising thunderstorm, so I was glad to be back home in the safety of the conservatory. I started a water lettuce garden, by the way. I also turned my tabby and phosphor slimes into largos. So far, I hadn't had any issues with the other ones, so it felt safe enough to go ahead and repeat the process. A little while later, I noticed that I could move some of the decorations that were already placed around the conservatory. I picked up and placed down a bench, and in doing so, I got the Tinkerer achievement. I imagine that's not the way most people unlocked that achievement, but hey, I won't complain. Into the night, I farmed more plorts. Eventually, the days ticked over to day 6. I was upgrading my corrals with the profits I made as I went. Then I found my way back into the basement, where I looked at the fabricator for the very first time. I made the connection that all the blueprints and upgrade components I'd been receiving were able to be, well, fabricated here at the fabricator. The resources to make these gadgets and upgrades would need to be shot into and stored in the refinery. The only catch is any resource stored away in the refinery cannot be removed. With that in mind, this revelation gave Beatrix LeBeau a whole new lease on life. I went out and vacked up 10 cotton plorts that I stored away in my refinery. I used them to fabricate my very first upgrade, the resource harvester. Before I could go out and use it, I had a message from Victor. He gave me a mid-station gadget, the blueprint to make more, and a bunch of furniture. The inner decorator in me rose to the surface when I saw this, so of course I got very preoccupied setting up my furniture. The sun was rising by the time I was finally finished, by the way. That gave Victor just enough time to get back to me about that mysterious AI that he's been deciphering. He told me he'd cracked the super mysterious code that was sent to him. It took him all that time for Victor to work out the complexing code spelt out a single word. Hello. He's got another message to decode, he told me, so I thought it'd be best to leave him to it for now. In the meantime, I decided to try out my new resource collector out in the Rainbow Fields. I was finally able to collect deep brine and jellystone. I was out here for quite a while collecting these two resources. It was past midday by the time I got back home. Because they don't have any monetary value, I chucked all of it into the refinery. I'm sure I'll need it soon anyway, so I'm already ahead of the game. My afternoon was mostly taken up tending to my slimes. I noticed that the plort market was down on all pink, cotton, tabby, and phosphor plorts too. You see, the more you sell of one plort, the less it's worth. So I guess I'd have to go out adventuring soon if I wanted to increase those profit margins. Am I right, finance people? Come on, Pox, let's be real. I don't think any finance people are watching my content. Anyway, the profits I did make went towards more garden upgrades. And speaking of upgrades, I had the tank booster upgrade on my mind that evening. I went out and got my hands on 10 tabby plorts. You'll be pleased to know that I remembered to use the refinery link I'd found a few days ago to store those plorts away. GG.log would be very proud of me, I'm sure. Funnily enough, I sold off a bunch when I got home. Then I saw I'd only stored away 5 tabby plorts. I may have called myself a dumbass at this point, you know, I can't quite remember. It was turning out to be a windy night as I got the Slimepedia entry for wind. Hopefully, I won't get blown into the slime sea. Then I shot some carrots at a gang of tar slimes. Yeah, that'll get him. Shenanigans aside, I did send another 5 tabby plorts to the refinery via the refinery link. And as we began day 7, I got myself the first of many tank booster upgrades. This upgrade takes the total amount of items I can carry from 20 to 30, which I can already tell is going to be very handy. I then got myself entwined in a turf war between some regular slimes and tar slimes. Guys, I'm just trying to collect plorts here, just leave me out of this. I spent a lot of the early morning just plort collecting, to be quite honest. I will note that I added the stone chick to my Slimepedia as well. It was a toss-up deciding whether to sell the plorts or store them into the refinery, but my lack of funds really made the choice for me. But at least I could afford the sprinkler upgrade for the carrots. I knew I had to venture out into uncharted territory if I wanted to progress, both story-wise and financially, so I played eeny meeny miny mo between the two portals and eventually decided to head through the first portal that I opened. I was teleported to the volcanic and hazy landscape of the Ember Valley. I took my time exploring this new uncharted territory. I came across the Angler Slime, a new slime to add to the Slimepedia and the Conservatory. Moving further deeper into the valley, I came across another research drone. This one said, "I know I'm on a mission here, but that hasn't changed anything about these geysers. They're still fun as heck. I think I can afford a few minutes for a splash like the old days. You know, back in my day, we used to ride geysers to get to school." That's something my granddad would have said, I imagine. I spotted the map node right after reading what was on the research drone too. As I was trying to get to it, I saw the shiniest slime pop out of the ground. It was silly of me to try and suck it up. It refused to be captured, and it ran away before I could even say the words golden slime. Gold slimes are another thing that I will come to despise later on. But like I said before, that's Future Poxiel's problem. I then added the rock slime to the Slimepedia along with radiant ore right afterwards. I somehow then found my way onto the ledge of some rocks that let me jump all the way across to the map node. Activating it revealed the first section of the Ember Valley on my map. Just like gg.log, I was having some good old fun with the geysers, and so were the slimes it seems. I also added an odd onion to the Slimepedia shortly after. Then I decided to return home the way I got here, through the massive shiny prismatic portal. By the time I trotted back through the rainbow fields to the conservatory, it was already the afternoon. I had 2 messages waiting for me, one from Victor who gave me the blueprint for a large pinwheel, and one from our good friend Ogden Ortiz. He told me to keep an eye out for any new and strange looking fruits on my adventures. I think poor Ogden was drowning in kookadoobie fruit. He also gave me the blueprint for a portable water tap. Once I was done talking to Ogden, I made the decision to replace one of my cotton pink corrals with the angler and rock slimes. I did this alongside another session of slime ranching for those precious slime plorts. I will note that it was around this point in time that I remembered that every slime has a favorite food, and if you give a slime a favorite food, then it'll produce double the plorts. This is something that I am very glad to have remembered from the first game, that's for sure. Anyway, I turned my angler and stone slimes into Largos as the evening light fell upon the conservatory. I'll admit they were a touch crazier than the slimes I'd been dealing with so far, and to wrap up the day, I purchased the jetpack upgrade from the fabricator, which I am very excited to try out. And I got a couple of upgrades on the water lettuce garden before getting a bit of shut-eye for the night. Well into the early morning of day 8, I wanted more than anything to put the jetpack to use. It was officially my new favorite upgrade, because this nifty little gadget allowed me to reach new heights, you could say. I was able to access new areas in the rainbow fields with it, which got me a couple of treasure pods and a bit of time with this happy looking statue. In all honesty, I got so lost in the joy of jetpacking that I spent most of the day finding and cracking open treasure pods around the rainbow fields. Now that I had the ability to literally fly, I was having a blast just exploring the cracks and crevices in the skies of the island. It was well into the nighttime when I started to head back home, but I had now ticked off 13 of the 18 treasure pods in the Rainbow Fields area. So I'd say that's a very productive day. I've been gone for so long that my gardens were full of food and my slimes were looking more ravenous than they've ever been. Sorry about that everyone, I got a little distracted yesterday I'm afraid. In between the early morning feed, I stored away all the necessary plorts for me to craft that return home portal Victor gave me the blueprint for. I returned to farming my slimes for plorts when, before I knew it, disaster had struck in the conservatory. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted an unruly scene. The star of said scene was a gang of tar slimes, and I kicked myself into action. I sent the slimy bastards back to their fate in the slime sea, trying to salvage whatever I could in the process. But they slipped past the corral upgrades and were feasting on my poor cotton pink Largos. By the time I'd sent the last tar slime to its demise, I was staring at 2 very empty corrals. Upon reviewing the footage, I think I made a grave mistake leaving a few pink or cotton plorts on the ground that I couldn't carry from the plort collector right in front of some very hungry and excited angler rock Largos. I was very sad, to say the least. However, we must look to the positives. My phosphatabby Largos were still alive and kicking. Plus, a setback like this was just the motivation I needed to start setting up my gardens and corrals with better intentions behind them. I wanted to set up my ranch for success, and that started with rejigging a few plots of land. I turned these 2 plots into Q-berry gardens with the intention of moving my phosphatabby Largos on the opposite sides. Q-berries are a favorite food of the phosphor slimes. I had enough money to relocate 1 corral full of Largos to their new home, not quite enough to finish the job unfortunately. So the next best thing I could do was collect a bunch of pink and remaining cotton slimes and turn them into Largos. I will not be having any repeats of what happened earlier. I'll be demolishing the other corral as soon as I get the funds to do so. To get those funds, I had to return to my faithful method of pork collecting out in the rainbow fields. Desperate times call for desperate measures, it seems. One other thing I did while I was out here was place down the return home portal beside the refinery link. Using it, to no one's surprise, teleported me home. Who would have thought? I also popped the achievement Beam Me Up for using it, so that was a nice little bonus for me. The port money allowed me to demolish that other corral, but not a lot more, so I fed my other slimes and I got the funds to turn it into a garden that evening. I'll be growing water lettuce on this one, as it's a favorite food of the cotton slimes. Night had fallen now, and with nothing much to do, I decided to head through gigantic prismatic portal number 2 to explore a brand new land. I suddenly found myself overlooking a very lush plateau called the Starlight Strand, and down another achievement I might add for exploring 3 areas of Rainbow Island. The first thing I did was I added buzzwax to my Slimepedia. Secondly, I came across this very shallow river, yet my slip and fall a few days ago made me a bit cautious of it at first. I was a brave boy, and with the knowledge that it was in fact safe, I continued onwards. I passed ruins on the blue side of the strand, eventually coming to an area with a bunch of big mushrooms where I found another research drone. This one read, "The giant mushrooms on this island are responsible for maybe the greatest mythological discovery of my life. Sorry, but it's a secret." Now why would you keep a secret like that, GG.log? I wanna know, damn it. Eventually I made it to the far end of the strand, where blue and pink meet in the middle. I came across honey slimes for the first time, and I found a map node. Let me just fly over there. Ooh, I missed it. Let me try that again. Ah, that's better. Ooh, butterfly slimes. When I activated the map node, I revealed the final section of the map. So I clearly missed a couple on the way here. Continuing onwards, I came across more ruins, this time on the pink side of the strand. This is where I found the ringtail Gordo. I backtracked a wee bit and ended up finding the flutter Gordo perched atop an overgrown ruin. I took a different path back towards where I came from and ended up on top of a plane that intersected both blue and pink sides. This is where I found another research drone. This one read, "I grew attached to the tree when I first discovered it. I used to sit here and tell it all about myself, but these days it's different. I see myself in it now. 2 different paths struggling against the other, bound to this island and changed by it. But unlike this tree, I hope to leave the island someday. I want to find a way home. I really do." I'll admit that was a bit of a sad note from our mysterious GG.log friend. I too hope they can find a way home. And that is a mighty fine tree they were talking about. Below this area, in a clearing, is where I found the next map node. This one revealed the middle part of the map. Just the first one to go. It was in the clearing that I managed to find the honey Gordo as well. To the side of the Starlight Strand, I found more of a beachy area. A very different vibe to the lush nature of the rest of the strand. This stretch of sand and rock took me around the back path, which led me right back to the main portal. And hey, look at that! Another treasure node. Getting up high helped me locate the last map node. It was hiding away in the sandy area out the back. With the map completely void of fog, I used my newfound knowledge to continue exploring. To the right of the Flutter Gordo was another beach-themed area that was filled with angler and hunter slimes. I took the super strong geyser to get back up, by the way. Not important information, but it was fun and I thought you all deserved to see that. Satisfied with the reconnaissance I'd made of the Starlight Strand and the new slimes I had in my backpack, I returned to my base of operations. I had a message waiting for me, so I went straight to the comm station. Victor exclaimed that he'd cracked another of the AI's ciphers. It was more than just a hello this time. He told me they were having conversations, and it was asking a lot of questions. But when he asked questions back, he seemed to think the entity was holding back of sorts, as if they were trying to protect themselves. That's about all he had for now, so I left him to continue his tete-a-tete with this perplexing AI. I also had a message from Moochie pop up right after this. She seems to think the drones that I've been coming across have more to them than meets the eye. They're advanced. Moochie kind of advanced. She said that they seemed familiar to her, but she didn't quite know how. Then she said it's probably just a big 3-headed alien, and that was that. So I got back to what I do best, which is slime ranching, of course. I was interrupted by another message from the comm station. This one was from our good friend Thora. She was just checking in, which is a much nicer message to receive than being told a 3-headed alien is going to get me. She also gave me the blueprint for a taming bell. It was back to work after this. I moved the remaining phosphotabby largos into their new corral, and their old corral was taken over by the honey and flutter slimes I'd bought back. I just needed a loved food to seal the deal. So as the cover of night blanketed Rainbow Island, it was back to the Starlight Strand for me. I was on the lookout for mint mangoes, as they're a loved food of the honey slimes. In the middle of the search, I found another research drone. This one said, "Ever since I came back, things have been a little fuzzy, like some of my memories stayed behind. So I come here now to clear my head. I just let the sound of the falling water drown everything out, and then in that white noise I can sometimes think clearly again. But then all I see is it happening again. So I take a few breaths, steady myself, and get back to work." Whatever happened to GG.log, it really took a toll on them. Memories of a time before? Whatever they're talking about, it doesn't sound like it was good. Anyway, back to the mint mango hunt I went. Moon dew nectar was the next food type I added to the Slimepedia, and the next, to my absolute delight, was the mint mango. Just before the days changed over to day 11, I came across yet another research drone. This one read, "I used to start my mornings with a jog along this path. It felt so great to feel the sea breeze as I'd make my way to the hollow trees ahead. Sometimes I would even come back at the end of my day and watch the sunset. But I also think this is where I got robbed by a ringtail slime." As I headed into a new day, these early hours were spent collecting more moon dew nectar. I bought 11 of them back home along with another 11 mint mangoes. One of them went towards the garden, of course. The rest went to turning these docile slimes into wonderful, easy to handle Largos. I don't know, there's just something so satisfying watching them all pop into Largos. Is that just me? Surely not. Maybe it's just me. Either way, I found myself back in the Starlight Strand in the early morning sunlight. On my mind was the thought of feeding my phosphotabby slimes back at the conservatory, hence why I'm sucking up so many Q-berries. Little side note, I found a small cave system that hid another treasure pod. It was a quick trip. I fed those Q-berries to my Largos, ironically just in time for my trees to be full of Q-berries. A little while later, after taking some time to make sure all of my Largos were well looked after, I got a call from Ogden. Ogden was overwhelmed at the odd state of the island. Something about this place just didn't seem right. He told me about the lengths that he and his company took to alter natural food to its maximum potential, and he's noticed how unnatural the fauna and flora on Rainbow Island are. Then he said stay safe, and off he went. So wait, you're telling me that that massive half pink, half blue tree wasn't formed naturally? Well, I'll be. Into the evening the day went, and you could find me over in the Ember Valley. I thought it would be best to split my time over here too. I can't play favorites with the Starlight Strand, although I will admit the strand is far less precarious. I was here to kidnap some angler slimes. I added silky sand to the Slimepedia. I found another treasure pod. I also added the heartbeat to the Slimepedia. I happened upon a strange diamond. I found another treasure pod, and another one literally 2 seconds after that. I almost jumped feet first into the slime sea again. Thank God for the invention of the jetpack. I then found and explored these familiar looking ruins. It wasn't a very large area, but it was certainly reminiscent of the ancient ruins area from the first game. And well, yeah, that about sums up this trip to the Ember Valley. To clear space in my backpack, I stored away the diamond and silky sand in the refinery link on the way to the Starlight Strand. That's because I needed space to kidnap some rock slimes. It was the start of day 12 when I got back to the conservatory. I had a message waiting for me from a oddly disguised man named Bob. Apparently, Bob gave me a gift, and I got the Far Range Friends achievement. And you know what? I'll take it. I spent a bit of time ranching my slimes as well. There was a lot of feeding, plort collecting, and plort selling. I needed more profits though, so I thought a quick nana nap would help speed things up. I woke up able to repeat the process, so that's exactly what I did. The proceeds then went towards unlocking my first conservatory expansion, the gully. There was 2 reasons I needed the expansion. 1, I ran out of room in the main area, and 2, we all know what happened last time I tried to pair angler and rock slimes together. They needed their own space, far away from other slimes. You'll be pleased to know I also set up a garden full of heartbeats beside them to maximize plot profits. I was just going about my business when all of a sudden something caught my eye. What is that? It honestly looks like some kind of ghostly bee drone. Hey, come back here. Eventually it came to a halt and I followed the prompt to open it and it gave me some sort of quantum component. I guess I'll have to check that one out later because I stumbled upon another research drone. This one said, I used to bring my lunch here and stare at the colossal fossils, wondering what this world looked like when they were alive. It's a world of slimes now, but who knows what it was before. And if the universe has room for a whole world and its ecosystem changing course, maybe we should accept the same of each other. Jeez, talking about the past sure resonates these days. I wonder what profound thoughts I had to share back then. Very profound, gg.log. Very profound indeed. A profound thought I had today was, why don't we ever do another driving test after getting it for the first time? I feel like people should just have to get tested again. Anyway, Poxiel's grudges aside, my next task was to find 10 pink plorts in the rainbow fields. They went towards the first heart module upgrade. Now tar slimes can tickle me for a little bit longer before I pass out. I continued this trend and got myself my very first power core upgrade. Now I can run away from tar slimes for just a little bit longer. Plus I got the water tank upgrade for my backpack. This will destroy tar slimes. I should also note I found out what that quantum component was for. Turns out I'll be able to fabricate bee drones to do my bidding, which I am very much looking forward to. The sunset made for a very serene hike to the Starlight Strand. When I got there, however, I was faced with my worst nightmare: pollen. Honestly folks, I wouldn't be surprised if I had started sneezing just at the thought of it. Yet I battled through collecting pink plorts and buzzwhacks as I went. Amongst a gang of tar slimes, I somehow stumbled upon a Yoki slime and its giant egg. I'm so glad that my first, and albeit intrusive thought was to smash the egg to bits. That got me the achievement, Can't Make an Omelette. Being a horrible person paid off for once. I dipped out of the strand in favor of the Ember Valley later on. Here I continued to collect pink plorts. I added the ringtail slime to my Slimepedia, as well as Primordi oil and the puddle slime. And to be honest with you all, I let my curiosity get the better of me and I did some more exploring, which is never a bad thing. It's good to get a lay of the land. That took me further into the valley where I found a dangerous looking lava-filled cave. I was a brave boy, mind you, and I came across another research drone. This one said, I feel at home here. When I traveled across the glass desert, it was caves just like this one that gave me shelter and allowed me to survive my trek. Just feeling walls around me and solid ground beneath my feet gave me all the security I needed to close my eyes and make it through another night. But I can do without some of it. Like if I ever smell a roasted cactus again, I'm pretty sure I'd barf. Well, I'm glad gg.log feels at home here. I'm a little put off by the spiky and exploding slimes. That being said, I did find another Gordo in the cave. This one was the Batty Gordo. It took a bit of traversing, but eventually I made it back to familiar territory. I took all that I'd gathered back with me and used it to fabricate a market link. Similar to the refinery link, the market link acts as a way to sell plorts without having to run all the way back to the conservatory, saving on time. Because you know what they say, time is money, money is plorts, and plorts is time. Wait, I think I mucked that up. After another round of slime ranching, selling plorts, and using the money for upgrades, I had a long-awaited update from Victor. Apparently, the conversation between himself and the AI became very casual in nature. Over a game of Go, not sure what that game is, he suggested getting himself a coffee, and the AI replied, me too. After that, it disconnected, and that was the update. He had nothing more to say except that he'll keep me updated. Which I mean, come on, leave me on a bloody cliffhanger, why don't you? With an update hopefully on the way soon, I preoccupied myself with another trip to the Ember Valley. This time I intended to explore as much as I could. When I left the ranch, when I left my home, I thought that somehow I would prove myself, that I would prove to my parents that my choice was the right one, and they would forgive me for not continuing their legacy. But that's not how it worked out. And before I started my journey, I heard that they had sold the ranch, and I just couldn't face them, so I left again without seeing them. I regret that choice every day. I wish I could have said goodbye. I returned to the conservatory in the early hours of day 15, feeling very happy with the exploration I'd done in the Ember Valley. I took some time to take care of my slimes, they were looking a bit hungry. I used the money to unlock the second conservatory expansion, the Den. This is where I decided to grow pomegranates. Batty slimes are very fond of these, and to corral a bunch of batty and crystal slimes. The Den seemed like the perfect home away from home for these spiky flying largos. I came back to the Den a little while later with another market link. These are seriously going to save me so much time in the long run. I collected and sold plorts before I found another message waiting for me. Moochie gave me an update on the drones. Turns out they're the same drones that she's seen in her dreams. So how this thing or person managed to make these drones is pretty baffling. Nonetheless, she said she'd keep me updated. I also got a message from Thora. She told me that her and her hubby Hudson had decided to take on a new adventure. And you know what she said? She said, "It's so hard to find someone in this world that fits you completely. Such a rare thing, like finding two identical snowflakes in the desert." And you know what? That's just the sweetest little thing. For the rest of the day, I collected boom slimes and lava dust from the Ember Valley. I also came across an old, overgrown, abandoned conservatory looking structure. Trudging into day 16, I came across another GG.log. This one read, "I never managed to conclude if the Prisma waves caused all of this lava to erupt to the surface, but I believe it did. The rainbow grass and iridescent rocks, all lovely to see, and the ecosystem seems to coexist with it to some degree, but this lava, this is the breaking point. My guess is it started like it always does. It creeps up a few degrees over the years and you hardly notice, and then one day you realize you're cooking." Oh, I wish I had a dog to pet right now. First of all, what the hell are Prisma waves? Second of all, everyone wishes they had a dog to pet. Let's be real here. Ogden called me shortly after. He told me he'd been going through every field guide and research paper to get some answers on the weird nature of Rainbow Island. However, it turns out that there's nothing. Something about it screamed accident. And you know what? I'd have to agree. Prismatic colored flora doesn't seem very natural to me either. That being said, Ogden left me to it, so I got back to work feeding slimes, collecting plorts, and selling those bad boys for some cash money. I headed into the afternoon with a trip to a very wet Starlight Strand. I was on the lookout for two specific things. The first being hunter slimes, because, and I may regret this, I needed another slime to pair with my boom slimes. I found these guys without much problem. The second was a briar hen, as they're a boom slime's favorite food. Unfortunately, they were a little more elusive, so I had to settle for normal hens for now. I set up everything in the den when I got back home. A coop for the hens and roostros, and a corral for the slimes, that have all now turned into invisible exploding largos. Oh joy, what could possibly go wrong here? For now, I'll leave the hens to multiply. The briar hens would have to wait. Because I was filling my backpack with juicy meat for a certain Gordo. That certain Gordo was the Boom Gordo at the end of the Ember Valley. This one looked like it was guarding something important, and I wanted to know what it was. The first lot of meat wasn't quite enough to satisfy the giant slime. I had to spend a bit of time refilling my backpack with even more. Even after a second course, the big lad refused to pop, although he was shaking about as violently as my washing machine does in the middle of the night. You'll be glad to know that I did find a briar hen, as well as another sneaky treasure node. However, I'd run the valley dry of all of its chickens, so I had to purge the rainbow fields to get more meat. By the time I had made it back to the Boom Gordo, it was already the mid-afternoon, just in time for course number 3. This last course of meat sealed the deal. The Boom boom, Gordo popped, and I was free to pass through. Very carefully, I might add. I didn't want to go boom before I got to see what I worked so hard to unlock. Inside, there were 2 treasure nodes. They gave me a strange diamond and the blueprint for the Ember Valley portal. Along with these was another research drone. This one read, "The gate is still sealed too." So I really must have been the first to enter since it was abandoned. It was here that I had my first doubts. I thought I was talking to engineers, problem solvers, people who could fix what I found. But once we left the labyrinth and met up here, I saw they were smiling. They were excited at the sight of opportunity. The company had sent their money people, not engineers. I don't think they even considered stabilization. It wasn't long before it all collapsed. Okay, a lot to unpack there. First of all, a labyrinth. Is that what's behind this closed door? It seems that whatever lies in this labyrinth was or is dangerous, but that didn't mean anything to the people this GG.log put their trust in. What all of it means, I'm sure we'll uncover soon enough, but there seemed to be no way through this door without some sort of gadget I didn't have yet, so I gave up and headed home. I got back to the conservatory that night. I popped my Briar hen, called Ben, down in the den. Sorry, I just wanted to make that rhyme. Then I spent some time feeding my hungry Largos across my mini ranching areas. Now that I had a substantial amount of income being made, I thought it'd be best to start adding auto feeders to all of my corrals. That will keep them fed and happy for longer. And you know what they say? Happy Largo, Hotel Travago. I'm sorry, I just wanted it to rhyme again. I hauled myself back to the Ember Valley in the early morning sunshine afterwards. I needed some resources, so I collected primordial oil, boom plorts, crystal plorts, and radiant ore over the course of the day. They were all the resources I needed to fabricate the Ember Valley portal. No longer will I need to walk there like a chump. I now have the convenience of teleportation. Speaking of being a chump, recording Poxiel made a little whoopsie here. For you see, I paused the recording, probably to help my beautiful wife with our not so happy 2-month-old. And I forgot to unpause it for 2 whole days. Now, cut me some slack here. I've only ever done this once before in the many years of making videos. And luckily for both me and for you, we didn't miss much. In that time, I got 3 upgrades, a sprint upgrade, a backpack capacity upgrade, and an extra slot upgrade. I got the Tinker Tailor Science Slime achievement for getting 8 unique player upgrades, and I got a couple of Tangle Slimes from the new Vine Tangle weather event. And that's it, I swear. The time jump took us all the way to day 20, and I swear it never happens again. I came across a research drone sitting on top of the tunnel to the gully. This one read, "I had the drones rebuild the conservatory exactly as it was before. I was so happy to see it standing there again, its glass filtering the beautiful daylight of this magical place. When it was done, for a moment I almost thought things were back to normal. I thought maybe I would walk inside and start again like nothing happened. But no, I know that's not the case. It was still so nice to finally be home again." Whoever this is making these logs really gives themselves a hard time, always dwelling on the past. Do you think therapy is a thing in the Slime Rancher universe? I think this person would really benefit. Feeling satisfied with the progress I had made on my personal upgrades, I decided to turn my attention back to the Starlight Strand. I wanted to spend some time digging deeper and exploring every crook and nanny. So that's exactly what I did. By the time I was on my way home again, the clock had just ticked over to day 22. My 2 days worth of exploration had uncovered a great deal of the secrets hiding under, behind, on top, and in plain sight of the Strand. But the other aspect of my life, you know, the slime ranching part, had taken a back seat for those 2 days. My neglected slimes, who were looking at me with nothing but famine in their eyes, were treated to a feast when I got back. Some plorts went to the market, but I sacrificed most of them to be stored away in the refinery. It pained me to do so, as a man so intent on profits, but it needed to be done for future upgrades and gadgets to fabricate. With that taken care of and my slimes much happier now, I got myself the next heart module upgrade. I then teleported myself to the Ember Valley in the mid-afternoon. I was here for a while collecting silky sand, primordial oil, puddle slimes, and radiant ore. Not to mention, I saw these slimes stacked on top of each other. I'll add that to the list of things EJ probably won't let me try with our kids, which, you know, I understand, I guess. When I got back home later that night, I found a few fluttery honey slimes were loose in the conservatory. Luckily, I got to them before we had a repeat of past mistakes. I also used some of those resources to fabricate the Power Core 2 upgrade, increasing my stamina to 200. Just past the gully is where I purchased another conservatory expansion. This one led down to the tide pools area, which I thought would be the perfect location for some puddle slimes. A pool with a view, you could say. It's also where I found another ghostly drone. This one gave me the same quantum drone station module. Once the rest of the slimes were taken care of, I had some calls to take. Most were just gifts and blueprints. However, my call with Thora was very exciting. She told me that her new adventure with Hobson would not come in the form of exploring new worlds or expanding their ranching horizons. It was to be right there on the far, far range. Their new adventure was starting a family. And look, as someone who's just recently become a dad, that may or may not have made me tear up a wee bit. It's just so much fun, okay? With Thora's brilliant news still ringing in my ears, I took off into the night, this time to visit the Starlight Strand. A lot of upgrades I needed now required something called wild honey. I hadn't quite come across that just yet, but I had a hunch that it had something to do with the strand, because I mean, come on, there's buzzwax everywhere. It turns out I was sniffing in the right neck of the woods because I found some wild honey not long afterwards. Some highlights of my time here today: it got so windy that it caused a cyclone. I fed some more moondew nectar to the flutter gordo. I let yet another gold slime go. God, it pains me to watch it happen even now. I got amongst the cyclone action with some slimes, and I made off with 4 wild honey and 3 puddle slimes. Unfortunately, 4 wild honey would still put me short of getting any of those upgrades. However, I was still able to fabricate the first tank guard upgrade. Now, if I slip into the slime sea, which I'd never do by the way, couldn't be me, and pass out, I'll keep 30% of whatever is in my backpack. It's nice to know I've got some contingency. I then spent the afternoon feeding my Largos and taking their plorts to the market, like every good slime rancher should. Yeehaw! That brought in some considerable profits. For the first time in 23 days, I had 5 figures in my wallet. That puts me in the top 1% of men worldwide, making me a high value man. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't even take that shit seriously. Please forgive me. Moving on to day 24, you could find me feeding the Flutter Gordo its last piece of moondew nectar. It popped just as magnificently as all the others had. It revealed the opening to a secret cave entrance. I made my way to the bottom where I found another research drone, which read, "The breach is so much smaller now. It fills me with hope. I remember when I first found it, I just walked right into the labyrinth and began exploring its endless grey halls, not even understanding what was really happening. But it's not so easy this time. Whatever I do, I need to shut the door tight behind me. I can't let it all happen again after coming this far." Along with the drone were 2 treasure pods. One lobbed a strange diamond at me, the other gave me the blueprint for the Starlight Strand portal. In the middle section of the cave, I found a door similar to the one I found behind the Boom Gordo in the Ember Valley. With no way to activate it, I found a switch nearby that opened an exit for me to take back to the surface of the strand. Also, there was another mention of this so-called labyrinth. I had no clue what I envisioned it to look like, but I had a feeling I wasn't too far off finding out. As soon as I got back home, I took the stairs to the basement and fabricated the Starlight Strand portal. Every portal I make is less legwork for me. Before you ask, yes, I did spend a lot of time trying to decorate my portals, and yes, I probably will move them again very soon. Nonetheless, I got a message from Moochie this morning. She had worked out a way for me to access the archival data on the research drone drones that I've been finding. I won't ask how it works, although I did ponder on it while I fed and farmed my slimes this morning. I'd need a few more resources chucked into the refinery to get any answers, however, so I went resource gathering. I gathered primordial oil, I gathered lava dust, I gathered radiant ore, I gathered fire slimes. I found this tunnel that led into a fat rock in the way, not really a resource, but I thought it would be worth noting. I gathered jellystone. I saw another gold slime, but this time I thought I'd just leave it alone. You know, sometimes I wish I could just climb back through the screen and slap myself. I made it back to the conservatory in the early hours of the morning. Down in the basement, I handed over all of the resources to the refinery and used them to fabricate the blue return portal, but not the red return portal because I was short one lousy primordial oil. Anywho, I set up an incinerator in the den for my fire slimes. I fed some slimes. I popped down the blue return home portal next to the main portal in the Ember Valley, and I fed the rest of my slimes. But the thought of being one primordial oil short from another return home portal was getting on my nerves a bit. If I wasn't careful, I'd have started shaking like a Gordo about to burst. So I got my primordial oil from the Ember Valley, and I crafted that red return home portal, damn it. I put that bad boy down next to the main Starlight Strand portal. With the morning behind me now, I started the afternoon adding another pond to the tide pools area. It was nice to spread my puddle slimes out a bit, and I spent the rest of it collecting and selling plorts. Honestly, that took me all the way through until nighttime. When I was done, I logged on to Pronto Mart. Haven't been here in a while, but I did have some cash behind me now, so I bought a few decoration blueprints to add to my collection. I headed out to the Rainbow Fields afterwards to collect a jellystone. It was the last resource I needed to fabricate that archival key I got from Moochie, and at the risk of upsetting myself again, I will quickly say that I saw another gold slime. Okay, moving on. As I was exploring on the hunt for more jellystone, a ghostly drone caught my eye hovering around this very tall rock. So naturally, I dropped everything I was doing to get it. In my attempts, I managed to find another treasure node, and after a bit of time fumbling around the rock, I managed to catch the dastardly drone, adding another drone station module to my inventory. I will say, the view from up here is quite lovely. I got 2 more treasure nodes while gathering more jellystone today. I got a little carried away exploring, so I didn't return home until later that afternoon. With jellystone coming out of my ears, I had more than enough to fabricate the drone archive key. I tried it out on a drone from the conservatory. It allows me to access the archived logs. I assume from the first time this anonymous being was here on Rainbow Island rather than the second. This archive read, I got the idea for this conservatory from a history book I had as a kid. I thought it was so lovely, the way that you could be inside it but feel like you were in the world outside at the same time. I wish I had something like this back home. Maybe then I wouldn't always have to run off to look for plants and mushrooms. Maybe I would have been closer to them. That's a fun new development. The conservatory was built by gg.log or gg.archive, the first iteration. This is confusing, man. I better get some answers real soon. I pondered on all of this while I spent some time taking care of my slimes. My time away had left them quite hungry, and I decided to give away most of the plorts from this round of slime ranching to the refinery. I found myself skipping through the Starlight Strand at the beginning of day 27. I used my archive key on the drone atop the giant mushroom, which read, I am a genius. I've made so many great discoveries on this island, but the latest one changes everything. I found a giant mushroom cap here about the size of a pizza, turned it upside down, added sauce, cheese peppers, and some other mushrooms, baked it, and voila! I'm going to call it Mega Mushroom Pizza, and I'm going to eat it every day. Is anyone hungry? I'm feeling quite hungry now. I was here in the Strand simply to collect some resources. Amongst the resource collecting, I read another archival log. Trees like this one can live for thousands of years. I used to think that compared to us, they must perceive time very slowly. But then I realized that was because I was putting people at the center of time. In reality, trees have been here long before us, so their perception of time is closer to the truth. We're here for just a moment before moving on, and the trees remain. I wonder who else this tree will meet. I wonder if it will tell them about me. I chased down and opened another ghostly drone, and I found a treasure node nearby in a cave, as well as a strange diamond. However, I walked away without a single jar of wild honey, which, to be honest, was the whole reason I went. At least I was able to fabricate the second tank guard upgrade, so yeah, something at least. Having spent more time away from home, I took some time out of my day to feed my slimes. I'm not sure why it took me so long to find, but there was a drone hidden away in the den on some mushrooms sprouting from the main cave of the pillar. The first log read, "Oh, mushrooms, my first love. I still remember the day my mum told me they aren't actually plants. I couldn't believe it. After I got that field guide, I would always sneak into the forest with grandma's old suitcase and collect as many as I could. When she found out, mum was so upset. But I think she was more upset about grandma's suitcase than anything else. I didn't know it was special to her." The archive log read, "Oh good, I was looking for a place to store all of my giant mushrooms away. I bet Dad would have laughed at that one." After this, I was able to fabricate 2 radiant projectors. Now hold up there, Poxiel, you're probably wondering what the hell are these things? I have to give you some context because I missed mentioning this before. I'm scrubbing through hours of footage, okay? I'm bound to miss some things. A while back, you remember when I burst the boom Gordo, and after finding the first closed door to the Grey Labyrinth, Victor gave me the blueprint for the radiant projector. He labeled it as something to help restart long dormant devices in the Grey Labyrinth. Anyway, I'm now making my first 2 projectors because I'm making my first trip into the labyrinth. This is it, folks. Time to enter the Grey Labyrinth for the first time. Holy shit. Okay, note to self, jump next time. This is it, folks. Time to enter the Grey Labyrinth for the first time. Take 2.
It's you. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. Hello, Beatrix. I mean, Miss LeBeau. Is Beatrix okay? Sorry, I just can't believe I'm talking to you now. You're kind of a legend where I'm from. I'm sorry. You probably have a million questions, and I'm so sorry, but I can only be so helpful. I'm in a position now where I need to manage what I'm doing here at all times until we can fix it. It's very delicate work, so we'll need to keep our chats a little short. Oh, I'm so sorry. I should have introduced myself. I'm Gigi. I'm a botanist and an explorer, and lately a makeshift expert on alien technology. I'm sorry that I didn't make myself known sooner, but I had to know for sure that you wouldn't be like the others, that you were someone that I could trust. Yes, I can't do this alone, and you are the only person I believe who could help me. Help me save Rainbow Island, maybe even all of Far Far Range. You see, when I first came to Rainbow Island, I was so taken with its beauty. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before, but eventually I discovered that this beauty came at a price. Long ago, something from way out there in space crashed into what is now Rainbow Island, and slowly it began to change things. The rocks and cliffs blushed with colors and then rippled with veins and the same prismatic hues that sprouted from the grass and other flora. Even the atmosphere here has kind of a hypercolor to it. It's everywhere, all spreading from the thing from space. That thing, I call it the Prismacore, changes the properties of everything around it. It starts with color, but then material and elemental changes begin. Traverse the Grey Labyrinth and find me. I cannot leave my post, but I can communicate with you from these devices as you find them. Once you find me, we can try and stop what is happening here. In the meantime, I'll do my best to answer more questions as you think of them. But heck, even if you don't have any, it will just be good to chat with another human. It has been so long. Good luck, Beatrix, and stay sharp when the colors here intensify. Things will get crazy.
Having made it past the first section of the Grey Labyrinth, and after my first interaction with my new pal Gigi, I came out to a new area that was drenched in wild and distorted prismatic colors. I picked up unstable resources and unstable plorts. I found out pretty quickly that unstable resources and plorts will fly out of my backpack if I don't use them after a while, so that's fun. In all honesty, there wasn't too much to this place. That was because it wasn't a new area. No, it was a thoroughfare to the actual new area.
Isn't it beautiful? Despite everything, there's a part of me that is still happy to see it all again. Yes, you're still inside the labyrinth, if you can believe it. It's a total recreation of aspects of the environment outside, down to the atmosphere. But even more astonishing is the scale of it all. It's actually bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. A total mind bender. Not everything here will make sense at first, or maybe ever, so just do what you do best. Explore, collect, and figure out how best to navigate appreciate this place. Knowing your way around and understanding how things work here will prove valuable in time. When parts of the labyrinth begin to shimmer and explode with radiant light, you need to watch out. I call them prisma disruptions. They are unstable bursts of energy generated by the prisma core. They come in waves, so learn to spot them and how to survive them, because though the disruptions are dangerous, they will prove essential for our work here in time. Okay, Beatrix, you know where to find me if you need me. Well, sort of.
This expansive sanctuary was a maze of stone towers and walkways that currently towered over me, but it was home to a brand new type of slime, the twin slime.
Have you watched the sunset inside the labyrinth? The darkness of the night creeps in, and yet it's an illusion, or at least it has to be. Shadow slimes are a strange variant of slimes that seem to be the opposing polarity of the prisma core made manifest. I still don't know if they were specifically created by someone to be this kind of opposing force, or if they evolved to be that way. You know how nature always seems to find a way. Either way, shadow plorts seem to provide a kind of dampening effect to prisma disruptions. It's a long shot, but maybe they can somehow be used to negate the effects of the prisma core. They're slippery little fellows, aren't they? Shadow slimes will quickly flee from you or prisma disruptions, so your best bet is to search in areas that were not recently under the effects of a prisma disruption. Once you do see a group of them, you need to sneak up on them and then try to knock out as many plorts as possible before they all flee, so be sure to bring some extra junk in your backpack just for that. Just don't go chasing one off a ledge or something. I'm definitely not speaking from experience there. Oof, I'm no hero, Beatrix, so I knew that I needed a real hero to stop what's happening here. And a hero, well, a hero you can trust. I mean, if you can't, then who else is there? So I tried to picture the perfect person for this job, and it was you. I've had my trust broken before. That's what caused everything to go wrong. I trusted the wrong people, but this is my chance to make it right. You might not feel it yet, but you are a hero, Beatrix. You will become one in time. There are so many amazing adventures ahead of you. I promise, in time, this will just be another chapter in the adventures of Beatrix LeBeau. Another story for some little girl to read under a tree and dream that her life might ever be as grand a tale.
I kept exploring this area for a while. I didn't quite understand what these yellow hovering blobs in the sky were for yet, and I found some polar cherries, which are a twin slime's favorite food, and a new resource called black indigonium. I found the map node as well. The only problem was it was locked behind a door, so I continued probing. I found a spiral staircase that led to another one of these puzzling shrine-looking things. Another thing I didn't quite understand yet. Alas, by this point, I thought I'd done enough exploring of the Grey Labyrinth for now, so I backtracked from whence I came, back through the waterworks and twisty hallways to the portal and all the way home. The afternoon sunshine was beaming down when I got back. I occupied my time with some slime ranching chores. I took a call from Thora, who told me they were thankful of me for helping them realize that they were ready to start a family. She also asked why I didn't use the ancient device in the ruins of the glass desert to go on some grand adventure across the cosmos. I told her that it was broken, which sparked some confusion, because Hobson said he'd left that primed and ready to go before he left it. Very weird indeed. Anyway, I chucked my new resources into the refinery and I unlocked a new area of the conservatory called the Archway. This is where I set a new corral and started growing some of those polaricherries. In the corral, I popped down my twin slimes and tangle slimes. I managed to get a few of them to grow into Lagos, and I'll get the other ones in due time. I'm just happy to report that this was a very docile slime pairing. When I sold some of the leftover twin plorts, I popped the achievement Plortonomics for selling 15 different types of plorts. Then a few minutes later, I popped another achievement. This was Billionaire for earning 100,000 new bucks. Moving along to day 29, I paid a visit to the Starlight Strand, this time to collect ringtail slimes, some tangle slimes thanks to the vine tangle weather, and I tried my best to pop the ringtail Gordo, but I didn't quite fill its belly before the sun came up, so they turned back to stone and I'd have to come back for that at some point. And yet I walked away again without a single jar of wild honey, which is a bit ridiculous if you ask me. I was starting to believe that wild honey was just as rare as a gold slime slime. You know, I'd actually seen more gold slimes at this point than I had wild honey. Sorry. I'm getting a bit heated about this. At least I could add some more tangle slimes to my corral back at home. That made me feel a bit better. I haven't done this in a while, but I slept until nighttime. I think it's been, what, 20 days or so since I slept? That's healthy, right? To no one's surprise, I was back in the Starlight Strand. This time I was locked and loaded with a backpack full of carrots. On my way there, I came across... oh my god. Is that wild honey? Oh my sweet, sweet wild honey. Just put me in a red top, take my pants off and call me Winnie, because I've never been happier to see some wild honey. The ringtail Gordo was no match for my stream of carrots, although I didn't expect it to unlock a portal, so I walked right through it without any sense of caution. Fun fact, it took me all the way back to the Rainbow Fields, and it gave me the second to last treasure node for this area. Day 30 was upon us, and I spent the early hours of the morning exploring some jetpack accessible islands in the Starlight Strand. I did find a treasure node, so I guess it was worth it. Back home, I dumped the resources into the refinery and my ringtail slimes into what was once the Tangle Slime Corral. I then got myself the second and final extra tank upgrade, bringing my total number of backpack slots to 6. Afterwards, I teleported my way out to the Ember Valley so that I could collect some lava dust. I will note I found another archived drone log, which read, "I think I just need to sit here for a minute or 3 to catch my breath and collect myself. I was careless, too busy marveling at the tropical foliage here, and a geyser shot me into the air, almost dropping me right into a pit of lava. I sometimes worry I took on too much here, that I'm not ready to be on my own." I had a very special reason for collecting this lava dust, I'll have you know. It was the last resource I needed to fabricate my very first Quantum Bee drone. After a bit of tinkering and setting up, I programmed the drone to collect plorts from my plort collectors and sell them off to the plort market. I can give the drone more battery power by inserting plorts to its station. Now I just have to sit back, relax, and watch this cute little guy do my work for me. I was a very happy slime rancher. Before the day was up, I found that I could fabricate a pink teleporter. These work a bit differently to the return home portals, better in fact, because these portals come in pairs. You place one down and link it up with the other. How cool is that? After grabbing some more wild honey and by sheer luck a strange diamond, I fabricated another refinery link. I just placed it down next to the drone station for now. I then paid a visit to the Ember Valley. I read another archived log. Caves like this have always kind of creeped me out. The stone walls and the darkness, they made me feel trapped. I was always more at home being outdoors with the sky, or at least a tree canopy above my head and the soil beneath my feet. I suppose those feelings are the same ones that brought me here in the first place. Interesting to see the difference between those two logs. Anywho, I relocated the yellow return home portal to the other end of the valley, beside the entrance to what I assume will be the second Grey Labyrinth portal. And now I had the start to a nice set of portals to help me get around. With the morning sun above me, I of course spent some time feeding my Lagos, collecting plorts, and selling them for profits. I then moved the refinery link I had made earlier to the den to optimize my ranching experience, if you will. Afterwards, I took my pink portal, which was set up right above the Strand's Grey Labyrinth cave entrance, to go to, you guessed it, the Grey Labyrinth. Gosh, who would have guessed it, eh? This trip to the labyrinth involved opening a plort door thanks to a boom plort I brought with me. This gained me access to a new area, with switches to allow access from other areas in the waterworks. I also think I took GG's advice about sneaking up on the shadow slimes a little too seriously. Mr. Pink Panther over here just figured out how shadow slimes work. My first Grey Labyrinth mystery solved. On my way back to the sanctuary, I found a new resource, royal jelly, and when I returned to those soaring stone towers, I just continued exploring.
It's so easy to get lost in thought admiring the strange architecture and wondering where it all came from, isn't it? There is much evidence across the far, far range that someone or something was here long ago. There are crumbling ruins and remains of ancient technological devices all over the planet. These ruins have always been perplexing because they don't seem to have specific functions, at least that we can understand. Not to mention all the slime statues you see everywhere, but the labyrinth is different. I believe it was built with a specific purpose in mind. I think the Prismacore was discovered long ago, and this labyrinth is actually a containment and research facility that was built around it. They couldn't stop the effects of the Prismacore, so they just tried to prevent it from affecting the rest of the far, far range while they looked for a solution. The labyrinth was designed to be a self-sustaining ecosystem. I think this was to simulate parts of Rainbow Island and see what the Prismacore would do to it over time. Outside the labyrinth, you have seen mostly chromatic changes to the world, but inside, where the effects are amplified, elemental properties will shift entirely. I've seen water turn to glass, flowers turn to metal. It's dire. I'm actually not too far from where you now call home, but we would never have crossed paths until now. I was born on the far, far range. It's my home, and it's all I've ever known outside of books. So, when I first discovered Rainbow Island, it felt so genuinely new, like finding a secret room in your childhood home. I wanted to stay there forever, but now it feels as though I've lived many lifetimes. My childhood was one of them, and my life on Rainbow Island is another, and now that I'm back, well, I suppose that's another. But it's getting fuzzy, the way I managed to get back, to get another chance to fix what's happening here. Well, it wasn't your typical way of traveling, and so now my head is always a little foggy, a little mixed up. The memories I have now feel rearranged, like they're out of order. Sometimes what I did yesterday will feel so distant, like a half-remembered thing from my childhood, and those same childhood memories of mine will suddenly be crystal clear, sometimes even feeling new. My earliest memory has always been sitting underneath our dining room table and watching my mum vacuum the living room. She didn't know I was there, and I just watched her. I remember that it was a hot day and she looked tired and upset about something, and that used to be it. But since I came back, that memory has changed. I'm still under the table and she is still vacuuming. The day is hot and she is tired, but then she notices me and her expression suddenly moves to surprise and joy, and she stops what she's doing. She kneels down and we talk about something, but I can't hear my own words. I just see her listening and smiling, and then her expression changes again. She's still smiling and I see tears begin to form in the corners of her eyes, but she holds them back and she tells me that she's so sorry my grandmother never had the chance to meet me. She puts her hand on my shoulder and is about to say something else. The comm station rings and she turns her head. I can't remember anything more after that.
Like you saw, in order to progress further, I would need more radiant projectors. Truthfully, you can pick up the ones that you've already used, as the doors will stay open. I'm glad that I tried this because I could have been convinced otherwise to fabricate a bunch of unnecessary projectors. Before getting back to business, I thought this break from exploring was the perfect excuse to do some good old-fashioned slime ranching. I will say I was certainly seeing the benefits of my ever-growing, diverse range of Largos. I even put some of that surplus towards the blueprints for the green, red, berry, and amber teleporters from Prontomart. That provoked me to go out and gather some resources for said teleporters. I mean, come on, having a teleportation system around Rainbow Island would save me so much time. Since I'd been hanging around the Ember Valley to do so, I decided to quickly open the door to the second labyrinth portal. What I did not expect was to find myself in a new area. That's right, I convinced myself that this portal would spit me out at the waterworks area, like in the Starlight Strand. I was so shocked that I turned around and I got the hell out of there. The irony of my resource collecting was that I'd been collecting resources for another pink portal. Little did I know that the game f***ing hates me and doesn't allow the fabrication of more than one set of portals per color. So, yeah, I learned that one the hard way. Anywho, I was still able to fabricate the second and final dash boots upgrade and the pulse wave upgrade. I'll take the win. So, like a peasant, I had to run back to the Ember Valley portal to the Grey Labyrinth, and I got to exploring. having made it unscathed through the lava depths, surprisingly, and having used my radiant projectors to advance further into the labyrinth, I made it to the Dreamland, a new area covered in hues of royal purple and pink colors with similar towering stone towers to the sanctuary.
I like to call this place the Dreamland. I used to make my way up here and while away the hours among the clouds. It's a nice place to forget about your problems. There is something different in the air here. It's hard to explain, but it feels almost as if the clouds and even the islands you stand on now are formed from the ether around you, not built or assembled, but more gathered from the tiny nothings in the air. I've spent a long time on these islands, and sometimes I swear I could begin to feel a kind of flow to it, like I was gaining control over it. One day I was feeling homesick while I sat here and thought about how when I was little I would be out in my mum's garden in the evening and I would start to smell supper cooking from our house. I used to delight in seeing vegetables grow right in front of me while smelling their cooked aromas in the air. It felt like things were connected in a way. And then while I sat here, I closed my eyes, trying to picture that garden again, and in that moment, I swear I could smell supper cooking. When I opened my eyes, there was a new island in the distance ahead of me, and on it was the house I grew up in, but it was only there for a moment before fading into the clouds. I still don't know if it was real or not. I used to have lots of dreams. I wanted to break free from the expectations my parents had for me. I wanted to be in charge of my own path, so I dreamed of running away and becoming whoever I wanted to be. I dreamed that one day they would see the person I became and be so happy for me, and everything would be fine somehow. It wouldn't matter that I left them behind. But when you're young, sometimes you don't see just how broken things are that are right in front of you. Your version of the world is like a foggy bathroom mirror, the shape of things, but not the details. I know now that my mum never got over my grandmother's passing. I didn't realize the pressure she felt to continue her legacy and the sadness that just became a part of her life, not until long after I was gone too. Now I dream that someday I will make it back home, and somehow my parents will understand why I had to leave. I think that's always what it comes down to. You just want them to understand you.
My attempts to open this next door were unfortunately in vain. I quickly realized I needed more projectors to extend the beam of light to the switch, but I stubbornly spent a lot of time trying to see if I could get it with the two that I had. Eventually I gave up and decided to do some more snooping around the sanctuary.
What an incredible view. So easy to get lost in the beauty of it. That is, until a Prisma disruption turns it all to chaos. I thought that might be the case, so I have been developing a gadget that should prove useful to you. It's called a disruptor detector, and it does exactly that. Placing them around the labyrinth will tell you when a Prisma disruption is about to happen in that area. It even works on your map.
Satisfied with my exploration efforts, I decided to make my way back to Rainbow Island. That was when I ran into a Prisma disruption in the waterworks, and I resolved another grey labyrinth mystery. I shot some unstable plorts into a floating yellow ring, and they turned into Prisma plorts. Finally! God, I've been questioning the function of those yellow rings for so long now. I got back to the conservatory not long after. I quickly dumped my resources into the refinery and took some time to say sorry to my Largos and feed them up again. Sorry everyone, I got a little caught up in the labyrinth. By the time evening had rolled around, my slimes were much happier, and so was my wallet. Therefore, so was Poxseal. But enough of the boring stuff, let's get back to exploring. When I got back to the Dreamland area of the labyrinth, I reconfigured the placement of my pink portal for easy access to the labyrinth from the conservatory, but then I picked it up again, essentially picking both up, so I chucked down a return home portal and decided to sort that out later. I was here to find some more resources in order to fabricate another set of portals, so I got to exploring again.
Hello, Beatrix. Seems you are not lost in the dream just yet. Due to the Dreamland's proximity to the Prisma core, you're seeing some of the worst of its effects. Outside the labyrinth, you have seen mostly chromatic changes to the world, but inside, where the effects are amplified, elemental properties will shift entirely. In here, I have seen water turn to glass, trees to metal, and whole structures surrounding the Prismacore become nearly invisible before vanishing entirely, as if they just phased right out of reality. Bit by bit, all of Dreamland will turn to gold unless we stop it. Where you stand will grow heavy and fall from the sky. In time, the generated atmosphere here will collapse and further destabilize the labyrinth. Once the labyrinth falls and the Prismacore's energy radiates across the whole of the far range, it will transform this world into something unrecognizable, taking all life on the planet with it. Even the tenacious slimes couldn't possibly survive such a catastrophe, but we won't let that happen. You and I will find a way. I feel lost all the time, but maybe never more so than when I traveled across the glass desert. Twice, actually, if you can believe it. And to be honest, it nearly killed me. You see, when I started researching the glass desert, I discovered that the name was hardly befitting for such a place. What I saw was verdant and teeming with life. This is due to a very special kind of water that flows there that can almost magically grow, well, who am I kidding? You know this quite well. So because of this, I didn't prepare well enough, and on my return trip, the glass desert earned its reputation. It was a barren wasteland. The wind stung my face and blinded me, and every time I thought I had my bearing, the world around me would erupt into flames. So I spent so many days just huddled in caves, trying to find the courage to press on. But I knew I had to. I had to get back to Rainbow Island and find a solution. The cloak belonged to my grandmother. It was the blanket she used to keep around her legs later in life. That's what I saw in photos anyway. And then it belonged to my mother until she gave it to me. Mum used to sew up every tear or fray the moment it happened. So many little stitches that didn't quite match. The way she tried to keep it all together. One day, I was sitting on the floor of a cave, listening to the storm rage outside. I was wrapped in my cloak and just crying from the weight of it all. I was tired and it all felt unbearable. And then I felt my mum protecting me. I looked at all the zigzagging stitches wrapped around me and realized she kept it all together for me, whatever it took to do the job. And maybe now it is torn and frayed and never will be the same, but it's still here. It saved me, just like we'll save this place. It might never quite be the same, but we'll hold it all together, Beatrix.
I made it back home again just as the day was turning to the afternoon. Like always, the resources went to the refinery, and my newly acquired Sloomba slimes got their own corral over in the archway. I even made a coop for their favorite food, candied hens. I would hate to know how a chicken can be candied, or worse yet, what that would taste like. The rest of the afternoon and evening was taken up with another slime ranching session, and I slept my way to day 36. And before I knew it, I was back in the dreamland, thanks to my now set up properly pink portal. Under the early morning moon, or the illusion of it, I guess, I continued to explore more of this dreamland in search of more potential portal fabricating resources. Unfortunately, the resource that I needed most were dream bubbles, but dream bubbles were a dream themselves because that's the only time that I could find them, apparently. I even went back home to sleep an extra 6 hours to see if I could get more to spawn. I did manage to get myself some more Prisma plorts, and it may have taken all day, but I finally managed to get some tucked away high in the towering structures of the dreamland. That gave me everything I needed to craft the green set of teleporters. Finally. Day 36 bled into day 37 as I spent another session feeding my slimes and selling their plorts. I have to say most of my days so far have been quite productive, so we can forgive Poxeel for taking up majority of the day to work out the perfect spot for his teleporters. The layout went through many iterations. I just couldn't work out the best spot for them all until I decided to place them down on the strip of grass in front of the house. I think we had a winner here, folks. To wrap up day 37, I collected buzz wax and wild honey from the Starlight Strand, and I used it to fabricate the blue teleporter, which I linked to the other end of the Ember Valley. So, the green portal now took me to the Dreamland, the pink teleporter took me to the end of the Starlight Strand, the blue teleporter takes me to the end of the Ember Valley, and beside them were the Ember Valley and Starlight Strand portals. You know, it's taken a while to get a good system going, and I'm sure it'll change in the future, but it's honestly the best it's ever been, and I was happy with that. During another Largo feeding session, I decided to reprogram my bee drone to take the plorts to the refinery for a while, just to mix things up, I guess. The sun was well up and at 'em by the time I'd finished with my slimes. I thought a good use of my time today could be spent upgrading my quality of life around the conservatory. That involved gathering resources like jellystone and silky sand, which I used to fabricate a market link and a refinery link. I popped those down in the archway, which is exactly what this area needed. I ventured back out again that night to gather resources once again, this time for primordial oil and more silky sand. I used these to fabricate another market link, which I put down next to my other market link. Oh wait, hold up. This looks like the same thing. Oh, yep, okay, yeah, that's because, it is. I remedied my silly mistake by collecting jellystone from the rainbow fields. This time I put down the right gadget, the refinery link this time. And with that, we shall move on. And very quickly, please and thank you. My next task on my list was to get myself a second quantum drone. We've all seen how brilliant the first one is, so can you blame me for wanting another? In order to fabricate one, I needed lava dust, some wild honey, and one more strange diamond. The lava dust was pretty straightforward. The wild honey didn't take long to collect either. The strange diamond, however, was proving to be a little trickier. You know when you don't want something, you get it all the time, and then when you want that thing, you can't find it anywhere? Yeah, this was a prime example of that very situation. Murphy's Law at its finest. I made the decision to give up on that for now, and instead try to fabricate something much easier, more radiant projectors. All I needed for these was more silky sand, a much simpler resource to find, I'll say. I fabricated them just before the end of the day. After another feeding and plort selling session with my slimes, I made a valiant return to the labyrinth. This time I was armed with 4 radiant projectors, allowing me to finally open the door leading to the gold covered section of the Dreamland. You know, I'm really making this place sound like a theme park at this point. Having these projectors also allowed me to access a brand new section of this Dreamland, and it was time to go exploring once again. As far as I was concerned, this section of the Dreamland didn't lead anywhere, nor did I find anything of importance. That being said, it was nice to have another section to find dream bubbles in, plus it was a very pretty area to look at. You know, it really had its pros and cons. In the spirit of adventure, I decided to also explore the gold-covered section of the Dreamland as well. As far as this section went, I had found and popped my first Gordo inside of the labyrinth, which led to a prison cell, for lack of a better word. The radiant projector puzzle opened up a door that led me to another dead end. There wasn't much going on here, except for this glowing slab of stone and another shrine thingy-majig. So I popped down a return home portal and teleported home with the thought that I'd pretty much explored as much as I could of the Dreamland. No surprises here, I then fed my Largos and collected their plorts. Most of them I just chucked into the refinery storage since I had a very healthy looking wallet. Once that was taken care of, I resumed my search for that one strange diamond I needed for my next quantum drone. I started my search in the Starlight Strand. While covering my search across the many caves, I ran into another gold slime. But this time I panicked. I tried to suck up some carrots, and by the time I was shooting them back out, this sneaky bastard was gone. Couldn't have shot him with one of my many resources in my backpack, could I? Anyway, it must have brought me some sort of luck, because in that same cave was where I found my strange diamond. I booked it back home, fabricated my next quantum drone, and chucked that bad boy down in the den. Now I had 2 sections of the conservatory automated with bee drones, and I was a very happy slime rancher. After giving both drones some extra juice and even more slime feeding and plort selling, You could find me in the Starlight Strand with a backpack full of meat. I was on my way to find the Hunter Gordo, and oh my god, is that a strange diamond? See, I told you, as soon as you don't need one, I swear to god. Anywho, the Hunter Gordo snacked on every morsel of meat I had and still wanted more. I returned soon after that with more hens, and that did the trick. I continued this trend of popping Gordos, but before I show you that, I need to show you something else. Bro, how do you miss a slime from point blank like that? How am I this bad at hitting a gold slime? Okay, with that out of the way, I popped the Betty Gordo that opened the path to the lava pits from the cave, and I went and popped the Crystal Gordo that let a geyser loose, which gave me access to a hidden away oasis. In this area, I found another ghostly drone and another treasure pod under the waterfall. I then got distracted with a quick little side quest. I opened the port door on the ancient ruins themed island that led to treasure pod number 50. I know that because I got an achievement for it. The next Gordo to pop was the Tabby Gordo, all the way out on the edge of the Ember Valley. That opened a portal that teleports me all the way back to the Rainbow Fields. Plus, I was rewarded with my final Rainbow Fields treasure node, and I'm proud to say that I got all 18 nodes all by myself. I will now hold for a 15-minute applause. Hey, why aren't you clapping? My time away meant my slimes were chomping at the bit for some food, so the rest of the morning and afternoon you could find me running around the conservatory fixing that. When night came, I realized that my 2 strange diamond finds had put me so close to another quantum drone. I quickly teleported out to the Ember Valley, collected up some lava dust, then teleported to the Starlight Strand, gathered some wild honey, got back home just as the day turned to day 44, and fabricated quantum drone number 3. I decided to pop this one down in the archway. Oh god, I love these drones. You could find me back in the Starlight Strand after this. I opened another plort door with a flutter plort, which got me another treasure node, and I explored the one area of the strand I hadn't even been to yet. To the west was a small area that somewhat resembled the glass desert. This is where I discovered the power of a level 3 lightning storm, and where I discovered storm glass. You have to admit though, the sand, the stone structures, it was pretty similar, right? It also yielded lightning motes, a secondary resource obtained by lightning strikes, and another treasure node. On top of that, I found a couple more treasure nodes right after this. Clearly, I was in an exploring kind of mood. I explored my way into a cave that was well below the rest of the strand, and managed to find the Angler Gordo and another treasure pod. It took some time, but on the morning of day 45, I fed the big lad enough meat to burst his bubble, if you will. That opened up another geyser that shot me back up into the lush pink hills of the Starlight Strand. With the rest of the morning taken up with feeding my slimes and monopolizing their plorts, I spent the afternoon placing down some decorations. I'm slowly but surely adding decor to the place, and I made my triumphant return to the Grey Labyrinth. It certainly had been a while. Truth be told, I was looking for a way to access this next area of the labyrinth. I assumed the way there was through the lava depths, but you know what they say about assuming. The trip to the labyrinth was not in vain though, because I did make the biggest discovery I've ever made in my entire life, and it was all to do with those little shrines that I'd been finding around the place. These are shadow plort doors, and when you shoot shadow plorts into them, it slowly turns the dial towards a picture of a moon. How it took me so long to figure this out is pretty damn baffling. But now that I knew how they worked, oh boy, my mind in this moment was just completely diverted to this brand new side quest. I was hoping that I could turn some of my slimes into shadow slimes back home. Unfortunately, that was not the case. To make matters worse, when I got back to the labyrinth, I went shadow plort collecting, and then this happened. Well, that seemed like a highly avoidable situation. Nonetheless, I picked up my bootstraps and I got right back to turning those shadow plort shrines. My quest came to a natural break when I came across this radiant projector puzzle. Solving it sent down this big beam of light. I followed it down the staircase and looked out to where it was pointing to, and suddenly platforms started ascending out of the mist in the distance. With no way to get there without being knocked out, as I recently became aware of, I think I'd have to explore that later. I extended that break to feed my slimes and sell their plorts. I'd gotten a little too caught up in my side quest for the last few days. I think they were grateful to see me. I didn't stay away for long as I was right back to the labyrinth that evening. I finally got the shadow plort door open that I've been working on, and can I just say, when you corner a shadow slime, pummel the out of it with items and it just rains shadow plorts. Oh, it's so damn satisfying. Horribly close to bullying, but oh my god, it's so satisfying. The next shadow plort door I opened gave me the grey labyrinth portal, and just behind it was a massive spinning Sloomba slime statue. I shoved the Sloomba plort into it, which was the last of the 3 statues I needed, and this opened a very large door. Taking the geyser to the top and heading down this small hallway, I came across a small sanctuary with the twin Gordo and a switch.
I can hardly believe you've made it this far, Beatrix. This labyrinth would swallow up a normal person, but you're different. I was right to put my faith in you. The Prismacore lies ahead. Maybe together we now stand a chance of stopping this thing and changing the future of the far, far range.
The fog that had knocked me out yesterday dissipated in front of my very own eyes. Couldn't have found this earlier on, could I? And laid out in front of me was the path to the Prismacore. Heading into day 49, I added the Grey Labyrinth portal to my ever-growing lineup of portals. This teleports me right to the center of the labyrinth, which is very convenient. After polishing off another shadow plort door, I headed up to the small sanctuary. I brought with me a bunch of fruits. These were used to pop the twin Gordo. This revealed another portal, which, as it turns out, takes me all the way back to the Rainbow Fields. I also opened a plort door in the Waterworks area, because why the heck not? This is a 100% playthrough after all, gotta do it all. For the rest of the day, I decided to get myself a few more upgrades. This included the Tank Booster 3 upgrade, the Power Core 3 upgrade, and the Heart Module 3 upgrade. And after feeding my slimes and making some buckaroos from them, I found myself on day 50 already. I've been on a pretty good roll opening these shadow plort doors so far, therefore it was in my best interest to keep this train chugging along while it was full steam ahead. Thanks to my efforts yesterday, I was up another achievement and over halfway to opening all of the shadow plort doors. Today's Largo feeding sesh sent my wallet comfortably into the 6-figure range. You know, this slime rancher could be convinced to ditch the whole Prismacore destroying the world debacle and farm ports until my early retirement. I even unlocked the final conservatory expansion, which got me the complete conservatory achievement. However, the fact that I'm back in the labyrinth may be evidence that my moral compass kicked in before I could take that idea too far. I opened a plort door in the Waterworks that I'd been working on for a while now. I opened a second door in the sanctuary that night. A third one all the way in the Dreamland in the early morning of day 52, then a fourth one all the way at the other end of the Dreamland. According to my map, I'd opened all of the shadow plort doors I'd discovered so far, and I was about to find out how to access this final undiscovered location very soon. I went back to assuming that it could only be accessed from the lava depths. I've spent so much time here looking for a hidden entrance that you'd think I would have just given up by now. I give up all the time. Why change things up now? Am I right? Alas, no entrance revealed itself to me, so I started down the path to the Prismacore. On my way, I found the geyser and the stone pillars that had ascended from the clouds all that time ago. I solved another radiant projector puzzle to open a door, and suddenly it dawned on me that there was no entrance to the area from the lava depths, because I had just found my way to the terrarium.
Hi, Beatrix. I've been calling this area the terrarium. Well, you know, a terrarium is just a container that keeps plants outside of their usual environment. The first time I came through here, that's what it looked like to me, just a biosphere, though a really beautiful one with unique food and slimes, and maybe that's true. It's possible that this is just a way to represent the outside world here in the labyrinth, safe safely behind glass. But I'm no longer so sure. I have no way of knowing. Not really. But I'm very sure the labyrinth as a whole is a facility that was intended to contain and stabilize the Prismacore. So logically, the terrarium is here for some Prismacore related reason. And if I think about what that could be, I wonder if it's a seed bank of some kind. Like if things went really bad in the future, if the Prismacore became too unstable and really truly breached, this would be a way to ensure that some of the flora would survive the ensuing calamity. If so, that would mean the terrarium is basically, well, an insurance policy, so that if the worst happens, there could be a do-over. I mean, relatable.
Early on day 53, I took a break from exploring the terrarium for a bit, just to tend to my slimes back at home, of course. I also fabricated the gold pair of teleporters. I had to reconfigure the portal layout a little bit due to the fact that I had more portals than room on my patch of grass to fit them on. This gold one I linked to the center of the labyrinth. More so, I had an easier way back home from the labyrinth. With that down, I headed back to the terrarium and continued exploring. On day 54, I could be found back at home again, but we all know by now a slime rancher must know the balance between exhilarating exploring and monotonous admin tasks. It wasn't for long though. I quickly made it back to the angler plort door and opened it with an angler plort I'd brought from home. It opened up to a large area full of these hyper slimes, and its leader, the Hyper Gordo. I found the final labyrinth map node close by too. God, it felt good to have it all unlocked. If only past Poxiel, who was stuck down in the lava depths, could see me now. I used my radiant projectors to open the first door back to the big terrarium area. After a bit of looking around and not finding anything, I decided to pop the Hyper Gordo. Doing so gave me access to just the switch I was looking for. That lowered another beam of light into the other room, and I was able to finish the puzzle with my projectors back in that first room. That opened up the second door, and now I had easy access back to the end room. I then quickly made a pit stop back home to drop off my hyper slimes into my Sloomba slime corral and to start growing turbo taters, because why the heck not, you know? And I thought I might as well feed my other largos too. I would have felt bad walking past their hungry faces if I hadn't. Now that the Grey Labyrinth was no longer a maze, just a series of locations, hallways, and areas that I now knew like the back of my hand, the only path I had avoided until now was the one to the Prismacore. So I walked that path under the illusion of the moon on day 55. The prismatic mishmash was truly a sight to behold, and at the end of the gold path was a portal, so I stepped through.
Here it is, Beatrix, the Prismacore. I was breathless when I first saw it, seeing the way the light twisted and moved within it, the way it seemed to change with every moment. It was like staring into the infinite. If only I knew then what would become of it, of me, of everything. I'm sorry to have brought you here, to have pulled you into all of this, but it was the only way. I'm afraid I still can't greet you in person. I would have loved to have thanked you properly, but I've locked myself away in the facility on the other side of this room. I'll try to explain everything. After all you've been through to get here, I at least owe you that much. So, let's start over. My name is Gigi Twilges West. I am the granddaughter of Hobson and Thora. You might not believe this, but the short answer is that I'm from the future. In my time, I discovered Rainbow Island and the Prismacore, and things went badly. It was rapidly destabilizing, and when I tried to fix it, I only made it worse. I called the wrong people to help, and they tried to explain exploit its unnatural power. Everything quickly fell apart after that. There was an explosion. Prismalite tore across Rainbow Island into the atmosphere of the far, far range. I shielded myself from the blast, but my arm, something happened. The energy from the Prismacore imprinted itself on me. I can feel it coursing in my arm despite my efforts to contain it. It's why I've sealed myself away and needed your help. When I get near the Prismacore, it causes the destabilization to accelerate, like it's reacting to its own energy signature.
And then suddenly, it all hit me. The AI that was talking to Victor was Gigi. The drones that we've been finding all over Rainbow Island, Gigi.log, was short for Gigi. All of those logs archived from the first time she was here to the main logs when she returned to fix her mistakes. It was like the final piece of the puzzle falling into place.
My world, the far, far range in my time, it's on the brink of disaster. The Prismacore's energy has blanketed the atmosphere and has begun to warp the environment as it has here, changing the trees to metal, water to glass, and even phasing the natural world out of reality. In time, there will be nothing left to sustain the ecosystem. Faced with that, knowing that I had a hand in causing it all, I had to do something. Remember during your previous journey in the Glass Desert, where my grandfather led you to a portal beyond space and time? When you got there, it seemed like it was ruined. Well, that's because I had already used it. I was able to direct the one in my world to this point in our timeline. There was just one problem. It crumbled from the shock of activating when it arrived. I didn't realize it would be a one-way trip. Perhaps there is a way of repairing the portal, but like so many things here, it's beyond my understanding. So I have to accept that I will never return home, never see my family again. But if we can somehow stabilize the Prismacore, if we can do that, then not only do we save everything here and now, but it will fix my mistakes in the future. I have to believe that. In my research here, I have discovered that whoever built the Grey Labyrinth created devices called harmonizers designed to stabilize the Prismacore, only they just didn't work. There's evidence that it was attempted multiple times, each time having the opposite effect and making the situation worse. I'll have to explain later, but I think I have something that maybe they didn't, something that might allow it to work this time. There's only one problem. The harmonizers are lost. There's no record of where they are located. Heck, there's no record of what they even look like. I am completely in the dark here and don't know what to do. Beatrix, that's it. I kept thinking I'd find a door or something I couldn't enter, but what if they're hidden in plain sight? I think I could make some new tech that you could use to test this theory. Head on over to the exchange station on the balcony above and I'll get you set up. Hello again. I've linked this exchange station to my facility here, so we can exchange things that you find for things I make. And like I was saying, I think I can invent something that can uncover hidden areas in the labyrinth. Well, for starters, I'll need prisma plorts to make the blueprint. I'll need to run all kinds of prisma tests to figure out the parameters of what we're working with. We're getting closer, Beatrix. Let's see this thing through.
Gigi and I were so close to the end, we could feel it. My task was now to collect those prisma plorts so that I could exchange them for that nullifying device. Luckily for me, there was a prisma disruption happening close by, and I got my first few prisma plorts. To make travel to the Prismacore easier, I fabricated 2 berry teleporters. I dropped one in the conservatory and the second right outside the Prismacore. I then handed over my prisma plorts to the exchange. In return, I got the blueprint for the nullifier. All that was left to do now was to fabricate it, find those harmonizers, and stabilize the Prismacore. Easy, right? That being said, I did get some more prisma plorts from the Dreamland. I took them back home thinking I needed them for the nullifier, but then I realized it was hyper plorts that I needed. Got my yellow plorts mixed up, it seems. Luckily, I had every type of plort I needed here at home. I fabricated the nullifier that night. Finally, the device that will reveal all of the hidden secrets of the labyrinth. I made my way back to the labyrinth and it was time to put this nullifier to work. Behind mysterious door number 1 was harmonizer number 1. I activated a switch that pulled the bell from the watery depths. Hiffing a carrot at it rang the bell and that was harmonizer 1 activated. Behind door number 3 was another shadow plort door and the next harmonizer. However, I didn't know it was the harmonizer because the first one I activated was an absolute fluke on my part and I was thoroughly confused, hence why I left it quicker than a deadbeat dad. I must have had some sort of epiphany about it though, because not 5 minutes later I was back in the terrarium and activating it. Whew, crisis averted. Over in the dreamland, I peeked behind door number 7 and found and activated the third harmonizer. Onto the lava depths behind door number 9 was harmonizer number 4, activated by a humble carrot. I then noticed these glowing emblems on the back wall and immediately noted them as symbols of the harmonizers I had activated. There was one from the dreamland, one from the terrarium, one from the sanctuary, and one from the lava depths. The only one missing was from the waterworks. I quickly made my way back and retraced my steps, looking carefully at every wall for any signs of glowing prismatic colors. One wall caught my eye beside the very first GG hologram, and by golly, there it was. Just like the previous 4, the final harmonizer was rung with the fling of a carrot, and with that, all harmonizers had been activated.
This is it, Beatrix. With the harmonizers activated, and with your help, I can attempt to stabilize the Prismacore. It works like this. The Prismacore is constantly emitting a chaotic array of energy waves that seemingly take the form of color in our world, but it's totally out of sync with our world in a way that runs deep. Like in an elemental way, that's how it warps reality around it. But this is where you come in. The harmonizers you activated emit a special energy pulse that reverberates through the whole of the labyrinth. Combined, they form a kind of harmonious energy wave, and when directed at the Prismacore, it attempts to change it, to make it harmonious too. I think I have something that the architects of the system did not. My arm. I can feel the energy waves of the Prismacore in my arm. I can feel its chaos, and so I think I'll be able to change its wavelength and create that harmony, as I'll be able to feel it myself. Once you're ready, I'll begin overlaying the harmonizer's wavelength onto the Prismacore. This will cause incredible disruptions and send the Prismacore into a state of chaos until we can actually stabilize it. This chaos will have a volatile effect on the world around us, transmuting even slimes into masses of horrible tar that will fill this room and ultimately destroy everything unless we do something about it. I know this all sounds like a lot and a total long shot, but it's our only chance.
The table was set, and all that was left to do was to fight my way through the army of tar and stabilize that Prismacore.
Beatrix, all the readings from the Prismacore, they're stable. It's on a completely different wavelength than before. I can feel it. It will take a long time for the land to fully heal and effects like prisma disruptions to stop. But Rainbow Island, no, the future of the whole far range has been saved. You did it, Beatrix, and I can't thank you enough. I can feel a change in my arm. It's still connected somehow to the Prismacore, but not like before. There is a quiet to it now, just a low hum of energy. It feels peaceful. I will need to run more tests to truly know, but I think that I might be finally able to leave this chamber. There's something that I need to do out there. I need to finally talk to someone and let them know that my mum tried so hard, that I tried so hard, and that I just couldn't be that person. And every day, my mum felt such guilt about not being that person either. I might not see you again for a while. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Beatrix, for all that you've done here, for me, and all that you have yet to do. The far range is a better place with you a part of it.
And that was the last message from our friend and our guide, Gigi. The Prismacore was no longer an entity of doom, but a marker of prosperity. And Gigi was finally set free of her burdens, her grief, and her worries. Gigi left the Grey Labyrinth for the first time in as long as she could remember. It felt like leaving a dream. The night air was cool, and she heard the song of the wind as it wove through the prismatic grasses across Rainbow Island. She looked up to the sea of stars that flowed across the night sky. She thought of home and her mother. She wondered if she would ever have the chance to talk to her again, to tell her she was sorry. And so, Gigi decided before her next adventure that there was someone she needed to see. It was like coming home again, only she knew it wasn't the same. She tried to find the words, but couldn't. But somehow, no words were needed. Somehow, there was only love and understanding. Time is a funny thing. They say it marches on, but what if you're not ready to go march with it? What then of those that managed to travel in the other direction? Once upon a time, there was a girl who figured out how to walk outside of time, and with great courage and determination, she took that step, because in doing so, she might just have a shot at saving the world. Then, with the help of some new friends and a little luck, the girl saved the world, but lost to time. But somewhere out there, beyond time, a mother waits for her daughter to return. And though her days had been filled with grief and regret, somehow, today she felt something different. She felt a calm as the ominous colors that once rippled across the horizon began to fade with the rising sun. And then she felt memories coming to her that seemed long forgotten. Memories of her mother telling her she was proud of her no matter what, telling her stories of Gigi and of the sacrifices she made, and most clearly, a warm memory of them all together and the love that they felt then. Because love is a funny thing. Once you feel it, you always have it. It transcends everything, even time. We have come to that part of the video where, with the main story finished, I clean up the rest of the achievements left on offer for us to unlock. There are 9 achievements left for me to get, and don't be fooled by the amount of time it takes me to get through these, because while it is significantly shorter in this video, these 9 achievements took me an extra 8-ish hours on top of the countless hours I'd played already. So with that in mind, let's get into it. The first achievement on offer was Secret Behind the Waterfall for discovering the Powder Falls Bluffs entrance. Now, I'm quite sad that I never discovered this location during my playthrough of the main game, but essentially this is a whole separate location on Rainbow Island, covered with snow, full of treasure nodes, home to the Saber Slime, and littered with these Aurora paths that you can only walk on during the night. I would go into more detail, but let's be real, this video is already crazy long, so let's just keep going. Next up was Now You're Thinking with Portals for firing a plort through a linked cannon into the plort market. This one was just a bit of fun, honestly. The next 2 were to do with Pronto Mart. I unlocked You Can Pet the Cat for petting the Pronto Mart cat, and Shady Deals for making 3 purchases on the night market. This next one took a while to get. It was to have a Strange Diamond, a Sunsap, a Royal Jelly, and a Lightning Mote in my backpack. Strange Diamonds, as we know, are just rare to find. I needed a level 3 Thunderstorm for the Lightning Mote, which I got by sheer chance. Royal Jelly was pretty easy, and Sunsap is a new resource that can only be found in the Powderfall Bluffs area on the tropical trees, or in the terrarium on the same type of trees. But when I did eventually have them all in my backpack, it unlocked the All That Glitters achievement. The next achievement on my list was to fabricate 5 quantum drones. I was smart enough to set up the 4th one to search for strange diamonds so that I didn't have to. When I finally placed down B-drone number 5, I got Quantum Crafter. A real goal getter was the next one I went for next, where you have to score 120 points on the Slime Ball Gold gadget within 1 minute. Truthfully, I attempted this achievement 3 times. The first time was a total disaster, and I found out then that this is way harder than it looks. The second attempt went a little better. I had a better setup, but I didn't quite score enough points in the time limit. The third time, I figured out how to cheese it. I stuck the gadget in a cave, making it so it didn't have the space to move around. At the same time, I was testing how well the game could handle over 100 slimes in a tiny enclosed space. It turns out very well. Well done, developers. The achievement popped up, and to those who say that's cheating, well, don't hate the player, hate the game. This next achievement was just another game of chance. I needed a level 3 wind event to give me a cyclone. Bear in mind, I'd only ever had one cyclone event this whole time, and it was the second to last achievement to get because of how damn long it took for the game to give me another cyclone. But finally, I eventually got one. I launched a tar slime through it and got the Tornado achievement. I now had one achievement left, and it was to complete the Slimepedia. I don't think that I can do this achievement any justice as to just how tedious it was to complete. It's the reason it took an extra 5 parts of recording on top of the 11 I'd already done. Completing this thing was insane. I had to collect every single treasure node, all 107 of them across every region of Rainbow Island, just to make sure I had all of the upgrade modules. I got every single upgrade. You want to know why I hated the fact that I missed so many gold slimes throughout my playthrough? Because I needed gold plorts to upgrade the golden sure shot, and it took me hours. I mean real life hours of running in circles around Rainbow Island just praying that I'd get a gold slime. You have no idea the cathartic feeling I had when I finished all of the upgrades. Now, decorations are a whole nother thing. You either need to find them around the world or get the blueprints from my friends Victor, Moochie, Ogden, Thora, and Bob. Totally random chance for them to show up, by the way, so that took ages. Plus, I'd missed the slime rain weather event where it rains slime. This was actually pretty cool. And last but not least were the slime toys. I'd missed a few of these because they actually only show up in the Cuckoo Corner shop. You get one a day and it is completely random. So I would sleep, wake up, check the Cuckoo Corner, and repeat. For days, weeks even, or you know what felt like it, I would rinse and repeat. Getting so bored to even set up carnival attractions for my slimes in the conservatory, just to keep myself busy. Until one day, on day 102. That's right, day 102. I woke up and I checked the Cuckoo Corner. There it was. Rainbow Researcher. It had been done. After 51 hours of Slime Rancher 2, I had collected all of the achievements and officially 100%ed all of Slime Rancher 2. Slime Rancher to me is a rare case of sequel improvement. The first game is amazing, but to take everything good about that, load it with more content, improve on the things that you brought over, and slap a really good story on top of that, it's just something worth celebrating. I have really thoroughly enjoyed my time in the Slime Rancher universe, and look, I'm not gonna lie, I am quite sad that it's over, but at least we will always have the memories of such a beautiful game.
When I first came to Rainbow Island, I was so taken with its beauty. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before.
I got the idea for this conservatory from a history book I had as a kid.
My world, the far, far range in my time. It's on the brink of disaster.
When I left the ranch, when I left my home, I thought that somehow I would prove myself. That I would prove to my parents that my choice was the right one. They would forgive me for not continuing their legacy.
In my time, I discovered Rainbow Island and the Prismacore. It was rapidly destabilizing, and when I tried to fix it, I only made it worse. I called the wrong people to help, and they tried to exploit its unnatural power.
I thought I was talking to engineers, problem solvers, people who could fix what I found. But once we left the labyrinth and met up here, I saw they were smiling. They were excited at the sight of opportunity. The company had sent their money people, not engineers.
Remember during your previous journey in the Glass Desert, where my grandfather led you to a portal beyond space and time? When you got there, it seemed like it was ruined. Well, that's because I had already used it.
I had the drones rebuild the conservatory exactly as it was before. I was so happy to see it standing there again, its glass filtering the beautiful daylight of this magical place. When it was done, for a moment I almost thought things were back to normal.
Traverse the grey labyrinth and find me. Once you find me, we can try and stop what is happening here. Isn't it beautiful? It's a total recreation of aspects of the environment outside, down to the atmosphere. But even more astonishing is the scale of it all. It's actually bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. The labyrinth was designed to be a self-sustaining ecosystem. I think this was to simulate parts of Rainbow Island and see what the Prismacore would do to it over time. Outside the labyrinth, you have seen mostly chromatic changes to the world. But inside, where the effects are amplified, elemental properties will shift entirely. I've seen water turn to glass, flowers turn to metal. It's dire. I used to have lots of dreams. I wanted to break free from the expectations my parents had for me. I wanted to be in charge of my own path. So I dreamed of running away and becoming whoever I wanted to be. I dreamed that one day they would see the person I became and be so happy for me, and everything would be fine somehow. It wouldn't matter that I left them behind.
I sometimes worry I took on too much here, that I'm not ready to be on my own.
I'm no hero, Beatrix. So I knew that I needed a real hero to stop what's happening here. And a hero, well, a hero you can trust. I mean, if you can't, then who else is there? But this is my chance to make it right. You might not feel it yet, but you are a hero, Beatrix. In time, this will just be another chapter in the adventures of Beatrix LeBeau. Another story for some little girl to read under a tree and dream that her life might ever be as grand a tale. Beatrix, all the readings from the Prismacore, they're stable. It's on a completely different wavelength than before. I can feel it. Thank you, Beatrix, for all that you've done here, for me, and all that you have yet to do. The Far, Far Range is a better place with you a part of it.
Gigi left the Grey Labyrinth for the first time in as long as she could remember. It felt like leaving a dream, because love is a funny thing. Once you feel it, you always have it. It transcends everything, even time. So there you have it, folks. That is 100% of Slime Rancher 2 done and dusted. I have so enjoyed this journey, and I hope you did too watching along. If you want to see more 100% videos like this, then you can let me know by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'd appreciate that very much. If you have made it to the end, then I thank you big time for making it this far. And with that, there's not much else to say except you're all wonderful people, so have a wonderful day. And thanks for watching.